tatta dhim tatakita dhim tadim tattam.
Hello there, welcome to my channel. This is Padma, and on this channel I share with you the dance and the wisdom from ancient body-led traditions or goddess traditions or the divine feminine traditions from my culture, which is India. And I do these in these times because I hope that they will give you a way of navigating the extraordinary times that we all live in. No matter where we are in the world, in some way or the other, many of us have been profoundly affected by the energies of these times. We have been called to review the kind of philosophies and values and principles that we have held as absolute. We are asked to look at where we've invested the sources of our truth, where we've thought of the divine as being as existing, and we've been asked to also look at who we are, what is important to us, what are our values, why are we here. And of course these are very big questions, and they're always the questions about any spiritual inquiry. But in these times it would appear that there's a congruence between the macrocosmic energies, movements, events in the world, and also about our own inner consciousness, inner energies, and our inner quest. And it feels like they all come together. And this is where I hope that these practices and traditions give you a way of navigating these times, because these traditions were absolutely made for the energies of these times. They are made for times of ambiguity and complexity and turbulence, churning, chaos, however we call these times. These practices, ancient practices, were made to help us to navigate and to inquire into the time so that we can receive the gift of the wisdom of the times that we live in. And today I would like to share with you a practice about co-creation. So co-creation is a very ancient principle of the relationship between us and the divine. And this is there in most ancient traditions. In fact, we often speak about collaborating with the divine. We sometimes use the saying, do our best and let the divine or the universe or God, or however we think about it, let that force or energy do the rest. But co-creation is something more fundamental than that. It is not about the mind leading and setting a roadmap and a plan, and then we launch into it, and then we expect that somewhere in there, the divine is going to chip in. Co-creation in the ancient traditions was about moving with the divine right from the beginning, right from the initiation of the movement, that we are enmeshed, we are together, we are traveling with the divine consciousness of the divine energy. Let me share an archetypal story with you so that you can feel what I'm speaking about. There is an ancient epic called the Mahabharata in India, and it's a story of Arjuna, who is the epic warrior, the world's greatest warrior, and it is a story about his relationship, friendship with the divine in him, the divine energy in him, which is in the story is Krishna, the blue deity, the very famous blue deity. And there is a seminal moment in the battle when Arjuna has to confront the biggest battle of his life, and he loses heart, he loses courage, he loses his perspective. He gets overwhelmed by the mind, and the mind stories about what he should do and what he shouldn't do, and he gets confused and he becomes paralyzed. And it is at that moment the whole dynamic of co-creation is really revealed. What Krishna says to Arjuna, what Krishna brings Arjuna's attention to, is that Krishna is the charioteer, and in fact, materially in the story, Krishna is Arjuna's charioteer. So he is driving the chariot. Arjuna's body, our body, which is like the chariot, is driven by the divine, by our own body-led consciousness, which is the divine in us. And Arjuna still is active. He's got his talents, his skills. He's one of the world's, as I said, one of the world's greatest archers. So he has his talents and his skills and his knowledge. But there is this other intelligence, the chariot and the charioteer, the body and its intelligence, its consciousness, the divine, that is leading this agency and intelligence of Arjuna. So Arjuna is being led into the battle by this movement. They are both traveling together. It is not that Arjuna is traveling separately or that Arjuna is instructing the charioteer, but they are both working together from the beginning of the battle to the end of the battle. So it is a constantly unfolding movement of co-creation. And this movement on one level is always unknown. So there is a place for the known. Arjuna's talents, what he has already learned, his knowledge, that has a place. But there is also this larger intelligence of the body and the embodied intelligence, the divine intelligence, the chariot and the charioteer, which is also at play and which is also co-creating the reality, because there is no set plan or a set template. It is responsive in the moment. And that is something that over centuries of moving away from that embodied intelligence, that embodied experience of the divine, we have also lost that intelligence that is ever alive, that doesn't see the reality just as a repetition of a past pattern, but that is always able to look at reality and to meet reality as an unfolding movement and match that unfolding movement of reality, the dance of reality, really with that mirroring that dance in our own body and in our own actions. So I hope this gives you a bit of a taste of what the co-creation energy is in these kind of traditions. And let me just share with you a simple practice of co-creation. It's how to feel it in the body. So we start, it's a very simple practice. It's actually one of the one of the root movement practices in the Indian dance tradition. So we just start with our feet parallel under the hips, the chin down, chest is raised, the arms just hanging by your side. And now rather than standing upright with the knees tensed up, soften the legs and feel the weight of your hips. So you drop in a little bit into the feet, and as you drop, you also want to feel the hips sinking down. The hips are like a full pot of water. That's what it's called, the Purna Kumbha, or the full pot of water. So the heaviness of the hips in the ground. Let the arms just hang loose. And keep softening in the legs. Now, this is a movement, it's not a standing. So the movement is happening in the body as you soften the legs. And I invite you to think that you're not standing. The standing is happening to you. Especially as you drop that weight, feel the weight of the hips. And then as you start softening, you do have to move to keep the balance, because you're not standing in your muscles rigidly. Allow that, it's like that pot gently moving in the breeze. Remembering to keep that chin down and the chest is open. Your arms are really soft, no agency, tension in the arms. And you might find yourself shifting your weight as I'm doing from one foot to the other. Soften everything. So this is why it's alive as a movement, because we are really attending to the body and ensuring that it's like we're just moving in the breeze, like the trees around me. Just gently moving. We're not resisting and standing. There's movement all the time around us. And it's just allowing the breeze to move us. And as we do, making sure that the body doesn't start holding somewhere, but really feeling the weight in the feet, that pot moving gently in the breeze. Now, as you're doing this, I invite you to attend to how you can feel that there is a kind of a momentum or a flow that's happening. The more you drop into that weight, the more you can let go of the effort, the muscularity of the legs. You'll feel that there is this flow, there is this movement that is happening. It's not like I am initiating the movement. It kind of just happens. Like I said, like the breeze moving the branches of the tree, it just happens. Especially as you connect with that downward pull, of the earth. This is a little taste of that co-creation, where we do need to be aware and present, but we can also allow that flow, that momentum, that something that arises the minute we drop down the weight and connect to the earth. It emerges, it reveals itself from that connection. We can also allow that to emerge. And then gently bring that to a rest, and you can come out of it, but try and keep that. I can still sense that beautiful connection and flow. So this is very material. It's not a conceptual, abstract idea. And the only way we can actually connect with the co-creation energy is to feel it in the body, because it's not something that the mind can bring us to. It is something that the body experience, that embodied experience of what is possible. What does it really mean in the body? What does it taste like? How does it feel like? That is what brings us that co-creation experience. And that is why in many ancient traditions, dance is that co-creative incantation, or that co-creative invocation of the deity. And in that epic, so beautifully, in this relationship of the archer, the chariot, and the charioteer, the chariot body, the charioteer as the divine, our divinity, the divinity of our body, the embodied intelligence, and we are the archer. We bring our attention, awareness, our presence, and our passion into this co-creative relationship, or this co-creative movement, because it's not a separation, this co-creative unfolding and movement with the divine. So I do hope that this very simple practice will bring you the movement and that aliveness in these times when there's so much going on, and the mind is always trying to be out there, trying to solve things for us and control things and process things. And sometimes we can help the mind by just reminding the mind that we don't have to do it all ourselves, that this energy of the divine, this energy of the earth, is actually materially available to us in our own bodies. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to your company again on this channel.